It's part 4, Terra Papers 1. We are at Irudu, page 27 from Robert Morningsky's work. So we are in Irudu. Zeus has been banished from the now called Eridanus star system, the new solar system, which is our galaxy Earth. And so ENLIL is Lord of Command word. He's the command of the skyways, and he's more of a warrior. And Ea is rebuilding the paradise with the Anunnaki. And they're given rank and property in order for them to maintain status and be willing to work on Earth. Now the KD are the givers of life, which are the Anunnaki, and the DK were the destroyers of life. They were the warriors, the Dak warriors from the ones mentioned before with Zeus. Okay, so Ea, also remember he's also called Anki. He builds these energy chambers and pyramids to harness these energies. He uses power crystals, and he also has reanimation chambers in the pyramids. Because the planet is unstable after being, being blown off, this is part of Tiamat now, which has regained orbit. He has trouble maintaining the energy. It's always failing. The ley lines on the Earth are not as stable yet. So the Anunnaki have to work really hard, and they're overworked. Anu back at the royal palace doesn't seem to care, just as long as he's getting production of the heavy metals and the gold that are going back to the royal palace to please the snake queens. Now Ea, he uses the beast of burden that he's engineered to help the Anunnaki, and the gold mining begins, and the cities are built, and Tiamat is born. It's now known as Irudu Earth. So he has the Garden of Life. It's an agricultural biological center. And Ea, they call him an NG, and Anji, which is an engineer kind of. He's assigned the Lord of Irudu. Okay? So paradise returns on Earth now. And life is forbidden on Mars, which is called Dakmu. And then Dakamu, which is Venus, is also forbidden because of what happened with Zeus. They wanted to make sure that there was no challengers that would develop on other on other planets, so that everything could go as planned instead of building it and exploding all the time. So Ea focuses on the agricultural center, and he takes more focus off the administration, and this upsets Anu. Enlil, he's far away from Asur Palace, and he doesn't like that, so he's sucking up to Anu, and Anu wants to maintain the throne at the royal palace, and he doesn't want Enlil there, so he tries to keep Enlil as much as he can. He gives administration to Enlil to look after Irudu. Now Ea is shattered because his efforts are always ignored, and he leaves this part of Irudu to a distant area, and he built another agricultural biological center and has gold operations. He's joined with his sister, his half-sister Ninhursag, who's from the Orion system. And together they're forming genetic hybrids, and they have these beasts that are also helping for part of Irudu. They are hang on, see. So they create these genetic hybrids, which are part of the Asur masters and also part of the original beasts of Irudu. So they have it for different purposes, such as you have the half bull, half Asur, which is the Sirius system, and then they had the half horse. You'll see those in mythology too. So meanwhile, Enlil, he increases gold production. He's on the other side of Irudu, and the Anunnaki are overworked, and they go on strike. They attack the palace that Enlil's at. They want him removed, and then Enlil goes to cry to Anu, and then Ea also wants Enlil removed because he wants to be back in power of Irudu Earth. So there's a meeting at the palace of Irudu, and so they bring in this hybrid beast. So Anu has to go travel back to the palace of Irudu to try to settle this match, this falling out with the Anunnaki, which want to remove Enlil, and then Ea, who wants to also get rid of Enlil because he's just being a jerk and working everybody to death, and he doesn't really care about anything. So Ninhursag and Ea bring in these hybrid beasts. As remember, I was saying they're part of Irudu. They're the original Irudu beasts, which is the Earth beasts, and the Asur DNA combination. which is the mammalian combination. Earlier, they modified the HN lizard hybrids, which worked underground. They were very good stonemasons. They worked in the underground mines, and those experiments worked well. He also made the other hybrids. And they had the ADAPA, which now what they did, because they had the Centaur, which is the half horse, and then the Mentor, which is the bull, and then the ADAPA, which is the beast of the wilderness, which was quite violent. It was half Appa and then Asur-ar. Anu was pleased, and instead, because now we have this new ADAPA beast, it's going to alleviate the work for the Anunnaki, and this enabled ENLIL to stay. Well, that solved the problem of the workers. So now Ea is enraged. He leaves the Eridu palace, and he says he's not coming back until the throne is his. ENLIL, because ENLIL, his bloodline, he's the younger one, but he has a little bit of snake Orion inside of him, so he would always be ruler of the throne. And Ea knew that, even though he was older. He was pure Sirius Canis genetic bloodline, and that would never be able to be allowed to rule. So ENLIL, his belief was that life was to serve the throne and the kings of the Asur-ar, which is the Canis kings, the dog star. And Ea believed that life was for self-exploration. And remember, he's the geneticist scientist. So Ea's revenge. ENLIL instructs that the DNA for the ADAPUS the ADAPUS beast has to come from the Anunnaki. Ea uses his own DNA. That's why the ADAPUS, which is the early man, became the son of God, dog in reverse, which is Sirius is the dog star. So the ADAPA is used to serve the Anunnaki, and ENLIL enslaves the ADAPA and finds him disposable. So for ENLIL, the ADAPA is useless. It's a slave. It's only good to serve the palace, and this really hurt Ea's feelings. So what ENLIL does, he has precise breeding schedules for the ADAPA beast, and it can only breed through ENLIL's approval. So what Ea does to tick his brother off is he introduces unsupervised sex, and that's the snake in the Garden of Eden that you'll see. Ea's sign is two intertwined snakes. They look like DNA strand, double-stranded DNA. And that's Ea's mark, two serpents intertwined. That's also the Kundalini energy that goes up the spine. And he teaches the beast how to be playful and gives them the knowledge of making love. So ENLIL catches the ADAPA beast in an excited sexual state, throws them out of the Garden of Eden, or the Creation Center. He issues commands to the ADAPA beast on those that'll stay, probably the 10 Commandments. You have to obey ENLIL only. You can't obey Ea or the Anunnaki, and you can stop. So there are no other gods before you. And on the 7th day, he had obedience classes, which is probably the Sabbath day, and which had to be mandatory. And also, sex can only happen without sex can only happen with approval of ENLIL. That's no fun. So the ADAPUS beasts that were caught fooling around and not subservient to ENLIL got cast into the wilderness. And he called them the Muse. They were also known as Muse's monster. So the ADAPUS beast that got thrown out of the garden for fooling around was called now ADAMUS. And he let him die. He called him a renegade beast. And the ones that were in the garden, they were the faithful ones. These were the ADAPUS ones. So Ea sees the ADAMUS has a chance at freedom now, and he's not part of the system. So Ea didn't have that freedom. He locates the beast in the wild and teaches him life skills with his sister named Horochowski. And these teachers were the teachers of Ea. They were called the EASUs. So they taught him life skills survival. The ADAPUS served served ENLIL in the garden, yet ENLIL still hated him, and he distrusted ADAPA because he had the DNA of his brother in it, inside the ADAPA. So ENLIL knows that the flagship is coming in. That is the flagship of the Asur-ar. It's the ship of the state. And I can't see my time. Sorry. And he knows that there's going to be a flood in the genetic, and everything's going to be wiped out. So he commands Ea not to warn the beast that the flood is coming, and he's willing to wipe out all his beasts and his creation. I'll be back for part 5. See you, bye.